Hi, Susanna Hayward with NOWCast, reporting live from the Mayor's third SA 2020 Forum. Hi, Mayor Castro.
Hi, it's good to be here.
What do you think of this turnout today?
I'm very pleased with the turnout. You know, at the beginning, on September 25th, when we did the launch event, I asked folks to keep up the momentum of this several months long process. And at the second forum, we had about just over 800 folks, and it looks like we have around 800 folks today, so I'm very pleased with it.
How does this forum differ from the other ones? It's being called How Do You Measure Success? Explain that to the audience, what it means.
Well, it's a progressive process, basically. It's sort of each forum is building on the other. So at the last forum, for instance, the question was, what is your vision for making San Antonio economically competitive, or in education, or in transportation? Today, the question is, what would progress look like? How would we measure progress for reaching that vision in 2020? And so really each of these is building on one another. The next one will build on today's event, and then the last one will kind of put it all together.
So they are working on measuring success in different areas like education, jobs, growth, development, cultural and historical heritage. And are they working on statements on how they measured success in the different areas affecting San Antonio?
They are. They're working on really on what the components of that measurement would be. So it's more like bullet points of what those metrics are for that success.
And the last SA 2020 is going to be held January 20th, I believe.
That sounds about right. I think January 20th, and it'll be at the Tri-Point Y, which is where we started it. And the next event is on December 8th at St. Mary's University in the Greehee Arena.
What is the subject, the theme of the St. Mary's Forum?
Well, that's going to be so today we're talking about measurement, and that's going to be actually discussing the strategies of how you get there, how we meet that vision. So by the end of it, all of the components will be there: the big vision, the goals, the strategies to get there, and then how you're going to measure that progress.
And in March, you're going to start compiling all these ideas, and you're going to announce to the city what the plans are based on these forums?
We are. After the last public forum, then this will all go to the steering committee that has about 20 members and represent also a broad cross-section of the community. And we'll kind of put it all together and turn it into something that is nice and kind of presentable, and the action plan for SA 2020 that will roll out in the spring. And then that will kind of be the marching orders that we have for all of us as a community. And there's some parts of it, for instance, on downtown development. There's a central partnership that's just being formed, public-private collaboration on boosting downtown. They'll take the downtown or the urban core part of it and then work further on it. So this will be the launching pad for a vision and then how we're going to get there. And then it also helps some groups, whether it's in economic development or downtown development, kind of refine their own ideas about how they're trying to do their job.
And some of the key issues that seem to have be more prominent seem to be what San Antonio seems to be concerned about is education, the dropout rates, reducing that, increasing college entrances, a lot about the environment and kind of controlled growth. Are these the themes that you see as dominant as well, or are there any other ones?
Well, there's no question that the two issues that have been raised most significantly, most frequently by participants have been the issues of education and transportation, in that order. But after that, as you said, there's revitalizing the urban core of the city, there's managing the growth of the city, there are always the issues of energy and water, which are also of concern, particularly water. So, in some ways the issues that folks say that we need to deal with are not surprising. I think what's of particular value, though, is that you have folks taking a fresh look at it, people of different perspectives from all over the city. That's the real value of SA 2020.
One of the concerns as well is like there are great discrepancies in medium incomes around it. For example, the east side is one of the lowest, and then you got the northwest sides. And some people have brought up that there are a lot of jobs in San Antonio, but they seem to be in the service industry, which are low paying without benefits. Is this something that's being addressed in these forums?
It is. When the participants talk about economic competitiveness, they talk about how we can also enhance the opportunity spectrum so that we both educate our young people so that they can take on those jobs that are higher paying jobs, and then you create those jobs in San Antonio either by recruiting them here or growing them here from businesses that exist or expand. So that has been a topic, and I think that anyone who's spent any amount of time in San Antonio knows that one of our continued challenges is enhancing that opportunity spectrum so that it's not weighted toward only certain types of jobs that are commonly available in the city.
Are there any types of jobs at different industries or companies that you would like to see come to San Antonio?
Yeah, well, I think that there are three sectors at least. Continued development and expansion of the biosciences and healthcare. Development of our information security and generally information technology sector. Companies like Rackspace, companies that are doing both military-related and commercial-related or civilian-related information security, cybersecurity. And then the third is the new energy economy. Jobs in solar panel manufacturing, wind turbine manufacturing, research and development related to the new energy economy. Those are three that I believe San Antonio can get very well steeped in. Biosciences we already are, but the other two I think we can do even better in the future.
San Antonio just launched apparently one of the largest solar farms here in San Antonio. That was kind of
the Blue Wing solar farm. It's the largest solar farm in Texas. Collaboration with Duke Energy and Sun Edison. I think Duke Energy, Sun Edison is actually a different project, but it's another one, a 30 megawatt one that we're going to be doing as well. CPS Energy in the last year has done a fantastic job of diversifying its energy portfolio, including enhancing its solar investments, which is, I think, something that it needs to do, and something that a lot of San Antonians believe is a good thing, as long as we can keep the rate of energy, the energy rates, low, and we have been able to do that. It's good to diversify that portfolio into more renewables.
One last thing, Mayor Castro, you gave cameras to the SACE students to go out, and how do you see educational involvement in this city? This is an example, the SACE students. How is that going?
The SACE students got 20 basically not phone cameras, just regular cameras, flip cameras, that's the word I'm looking for, to go out into the community and to record everyday San Antonians in different parts of the city answering questions about what they want the city to look like. And so we're excited about that partnership. The flip cameras were donated by Rackspace, and they're going to be part of what we take in terms of the testimony from San Antonians that's going to help shape this agenda for the future. And the SACE students were very enthusiastic, and I know they've done some good work, and so we're very proud of that partnership.
Mayor Castro, is there anything in these forums that people ask you that, are there some things that people don't ask you that you wish they did and that you would like to tell the audience now?
Nothing really comes to mind. The only thing that comes to mind is not really a substantive issue, an issue of substance. It's an issue of, in a sense, how do you broadcast the accomplishments of a city when it actually accomplishes something? For instance, a few minutes ago you mentioned the Blue Wing project, solar project, and that CPS Energy has contracted. And CPS Energy and San Antonio are actually probably now the most green city. We are the most green city in terms of investment in renewables of any of the cities in Texas. But people don't think of San Antonio in that way. People often think of San Antonio as I've often said, as a nice place to have a margarita on the Riverwalk. And especially over the last 3 decades, we have expanded far beyond that in terms of the level of opportunity, in terms of the quality of life of the city and what San Antonio has to offer. But one of our shortcomings as a city is that people continue to have a perception that is stuck, 30 or 40 years ago. That hasn't come up too much in the conversation here, probably because this is more focused on policy and what we have to accomplish. But this issue of how we change that perception is important because that drives business opportunities. It drives who's interested in living in a city, who will even consider you for investment. And we get shortchanged in the long run, I believe, by having a perception out there that is only part of who we are as a community. We need to change that in the future.
Yes. And one thing you said in one of the forums was that you didn't want San Antonio to grow, say, like Austin, where it has sprawled so much, like cities like Round Rock are taking over the tax base of the
Sure.
city. So how do you hope to rein in that kind of growth?
Well, what we're trying to do is to make it much more attractive to invest and live in the urban core of the city. You think about the Performing Arts Center that's going up, that the county is taking the lead on by 2013, the river expansion, we have the museum reach, the mission reach is going to be done in 2013, the Hemisphere project that we have underway right now that'll unfold over the next several years, investing in mass transit in the urban core of the city. So, it's difficult for San Antonio to absolutely put a wall around itself and say you're not going to grow beyond this point. It's hard to do that. You can't really do that practically, but we have seen more and more people moving into the urban core of the city, and San Antonio's not alone. Other cities have seen that as well. I believe that by making the right investments and offering development incentives, that we can create a San Antonio where more and more folks choose to live closer in to the city, and that we slow down the rate of sprawl that we've seen over the last couple of decades.
Online in the SA 2020 side, there's been a lot of readers talk about wanting light rail between San Antonio and Austin because they say that many people have to go to Austin because there aren't enough jobs here in the commuting and all that. Do you see light rail in San Antonio's future?
Well, there's light rail within the city, and then I think that's basically the rail corridor that would be commuter rail between San Antonio and Austin. That is something that the communities between San Antonio and Austin continue to work on. There was some movement in the legislature to dedicate some funds for rail relocation in the last session. The challenge is the expense of that in the future, and so we would need some sort of federal government assistance to do that. San Antonio did not get selected for high-speed rail, or Texas did not get selected for high-speed rail, but that is a project that when we go to DC, when we go to the legislature, we're continuing to push. I know that the mayor of Austin, Mayor Leffingwell, is also interested in that. He and I spoke a couple of months ago, and we had a chance to meet with the other mayors and county officials from the corridor, the I-35 corridor. So I guess the tough answer right now is that it is something that is a priority and that we want to accomplish, but the resources are the issue right now.
With the Texas legislature and the nation being the Democratic base losing ground, do you see any problems or any programs, possibly social programs, being derailed or put on hold because of that?
Well, I think there's no question that there are going to be significant cuts that are made. And the issue is that there's only so much cutting you can do before it has a profoundly negative impact on the citizens and the taxpayers of Texas. So my hope is that during this legislative session, that people will not just play a shell game or pass the buck down to local governments and pretend like, hey, I didn't raise your taxes, somebody else did, knowing full well that somebody is going to have to raise revenue. You know, we cannot in this state afford to be held hostage to anybody's strong ideology, whether that's on the left or on the right. And my fear is that in this legislative session, that cities are going to take it on the chin, and ultimately taxpayers are, because at the state level, they want to pretend that they can do everything and not pay for it. You can't do that. And so whether it's Medicaid funding or funding for our schools or funding for our roads that need real attention in Texas, they need to take an adult, realistic view of those things and how they're going to pay for them.
Thank you very much, Mayor Castro.
Okay.
All right.